Hello again. So, thank you again for joining us. Today, we're talking about sustainable travel ideas and rural tourism in Japan, and doing study tours in Japan and Europe, and taking Japanese trainee professionals to Europe, bringing Europeans to Japan. And this is Renata Piazza, who's had a long career in Japan. And currently, where are you, Renata? You're
In Sicily.
Sicily, yeah. Thank you for joining us today, all the way
Thank you for inviting me.
from Europe. Would you like to start a short introduction of yourself?
Okay, I'm Renata Piazza. I'm 51. I'm a resident of Tono in Iwate Prefecture, but I'm currently in Sicily, in my hometown, Siracusa. I've been working on sustainability, not only sustainable and responsible travel, but also on the rediscovering of traditions as a tool for living a more sustainable and more harmonious life with the planet since 2011. So right after the tsunami of Tohoku, which made me rethink about our model of living and dealing with the environment. It's a long story. What I've been
No,
doing
it's
since
a disaster is often a very good wake up call, right? It helps you
Absolutely.
realize what's important and what is the better path ahead, I think. And you were saying, of course, that you're a resident of Tohoku, but you are having trouble getting back to Japan.
Yeah, absolutely. I was here, well, I was in Japan in February, then I had to come back to Sicily for two reasons, for family reasons and also for work. I had a project, a study tour for a social innovator from Kyoto planned for March. But then the situation in Italy went from bad to worse. So we started the lockdown on March the 11th. Interesting date, as you remember, San Ichichi.
Yeah.
And then till the end of April, I wasn't able to move. Then May arrived, and the embassy said that I would be able to go back by the end of May. And then they just told me that it's going to be basically impossible. I have a son. My son is still in Japan. So I could try to join him and ask him to let me in. But the Italian embassy had to make a request to the Ministry of Justice. And for a humanitarian reason, they might accept my request. But then I have to do the quarantine and so many procedures that I decided that I will bring back my son from Japan instead of going. And I will wait till Japan opens up to the rest of the world, like the rest of the world is doing.
Oh, that's so difficult. But you've been able to continue some of your work online, and hopefully you'll be able to get back maybe in a couple months or so. It might change the regulation.
Yeah. Well, I had two projects planned, one for May and one for October.
I saw that on your website.
With Europeans, I do two Reiki retreat in Tono with two different groups. One is from Italy, one is from Spain. But of course, the May one has been postponed to October, and we don't know if we are able to do the program, both programs, the Italian one and the Spanish one, in October. I've been working for many months on a project for foreign residents of Japan that don't know the countryside. And one of the people you interviewed, Joan, was one of the participants last September. So it's a very nice program that is specifically designed for foreigners that have long lived in Japan, but they don't know the countryside and they don't know the opportunities the countryside offers, not only to foreigners, not only for tourists. And at the same time, it's a project that is directed also to nationals, to postgraduate students who are looking for a different career. So we want to show a different image of the countryside. So countryside is not this poor land of no one, where people don't want to live and just want to go away, but it's actually a place with its own identity, and also where there are plenty of young and not that young anymore entrepreneurs that work also on sustainability. Of course, mainly is agriculture and farming, but there are so many people that are innovating anyway in the countryside. So it's the countryside offers an alternative. Rural life is not just idyllic and carefree. It's a place where you
there's a lot of appeal, and I think for domestic tourists and for domestic international residents, definitely having monitor tours or tours that offer rural escapes, and not only weekends but maybe week-long trips where they could learn something. That's a really good idea. So your website and company name is Hasekura 2.0. Do you want to introduce about your company a little bit?
It's actually not a company, it's an association. Okay. It's an association that was founded in 2012 in Spain. I used to live in Spain. I've lived in Barcelona for 17 years. And the association was founded after the tsunami of 2011, together with a member of the Japanese community of Barcelona. And the objective of Hasekura is to create a platform where social entrepreneurs and social innovators from Japan and Europe can meet and exchange ideas, information, best practices.
That's
whatever.
Great. Yeah, we have some photos we'll show a little bit later. And let's start with Tono, because you've done some projects to kind of promote tourism, like you said, with Joan and other people to get them there. So Tono is 3 hours by train from Tokyo?
It's 3 hours by Shinkansen and another hour by local train. It's called the cradle, basically, of Japanese folklore and folk tales. It's very famous for the Tono Monogatari, so the legends of Tono, by Yanagita Kunio, which was the father of ethnology in Japan. It's a beautiful place, a very special place, populated by spirits, yokai of all forms and all types, of course, kappa and Zashiki Wawarashi and others. So it's this lovely place surrounded by mountains that has completely different colors along the different seasons of the year. And
it looks beautiful. I'm showing pictures right now from YouTube video, maybe a collaboration that you had helped set up with Countryside Stays Japan. And there's some aerial views. You can see the rice fields. You can see the Tono Furusato village with the grassy roof, right? That's long roof.
Kayabuki, that's the roof. I'm working with in Tono. I'm working with an NPO called the Yamasato Kurashi Network, and I think in English it's called the Tono Natural Life Network. And we promoted rural tourism and farm stay with local farmers. The project that I did also where Joanne participated, it's a project for not only for tourism, but also for rethinking the possibility of a different life path and work opportunities. So it's not just tourism, it's something a little more complex and deeper. And what I've been doing in Tono for the last 4 years is been try to empower citizens and not let them think that because the countryside is no man's land and it's a derelict places, there is not Tokyo. For me, it's very atarimae, very obvious that Tono is not Tokyo, and because of this, it's unique and it's got its own beauty and its own peculiarities. So the idea is that local people are not supposed to look down at themselves, but the objective was to empower them, to make them understand that they have their own uniqueness and beauty, and they have to invest on this beauty to promote themselves, their own land. So not, I don't like talking about promotion. I don't like the word hashin. So, like looking for someone to come and visit us. It's the other way around. You are aware of your own potential, and you are the one who chooses who wants to come. No one is. It's not that everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
You have your own specialities and your own peculiarities that will fit someone and will not fit somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
the problem.
That's branding. Instead of sales, it's branding. And I think branding is definitely the way forward, because you're showing we have high value, we have high quality, we have a wonderful place, and building a brand. And then, of course, people will seek you out and want to come. But the idea of selective selling, right? Selling to the right kind of visitor is so important for sustainable tourism. You do not want mass tourism. You do not want thousands of people at once who aren't going to appreciate it and just take the famous photo, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely we are on the same page.
Good. And it wasn't easy to make it understood, actually. Sometimes, because I was basically for a while the only foreigner, and automatically the Japanese think that if you are a foreigner, then you know about inboundo, and you have to work for the inboundo. And the question is, so if in our restaurant we don't have forks, foreigners will not come. So you have to try to explain, if a foreigner comes all the way to Tono and finds in a restaurant forks, he will not be very happy, So it's the other way around. Try to make them understand that being Japanese and being yourself is important. It's much more important than trying to make the customer, to adapt to the possible needs that the customer have.
Well, that's the thing. You can't stereotype what you think the inbound customer is going to want, because the inbound customer is actually more diverse than you realize. And if they're coming into the deep countryside, of course, they're interested in the rural, they're interested in Japan. They probably know how to use chopsticks, right? But this is all part of the ignorance or innocence that they didn't try yet. So once they open up, once more people come, they'll hopefully become more comfortable and have good experiences, with people who do care, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, and it's important also to have proud on your own in your own place and what you do and your customs, your habits, your way of living. This is important, and I think this is what I've been doing for a while in Tono, and I think people appreciated my contribution.
I'm sure
to
they
the promotion
do.
of this place.
Yeah, it looks like a beautiful place, and there's lots of places to go on hikes. There's lots of places to enjoy the outdoors. So in terms of coronavirus and travel after coronavirus, getting out to the countryside, to the great outdoors, is of course the best next step possible for tourism.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing is that also Tono is not simply countryside. It is a place with a deep culture. It's one of the oldest places. There are in the museum you will find that there are also rests from the Jomon era. So it has a very deep culture, and this is important. If you know it, and you're able to promote it and to transmit it to visitors.
That's great.
So
we had a comment from Maribont on Periscope. He says, "Hello, buongiorno from Italy." There you go. Somebody else from Italy. Thank you for joining the broadcast today. Let's go. Oh, this is Tono map. If anybody's not sure where Tono is, do you want to describe the area? It's kind of inland or near the coast. It looks like inland.
Tono is actually It's inland. It's about 50 kilometers away from the Sanriku coast, which was affected by the tsunami, and another 50 something from Morioka. So Tono has been traditionally a strategic place where to, I mean, in the past it used to be a market city because it's has the same distance from inland and the coast. So people from the coast would come and bring in fish and wakame from the coast, and people from the inland would bring their own products produced, and they would share them in Tono. So also from a sociological point of view, the people from Tono are quite open-minded because they used to trade and to the exchange of goods, and also seeing people from different places converging there. And also Tono was used basically the year before the tsunami of 2011. The government had used Tono as a place for the distribution of help and first aid on the coast in case of tsunami. So when actually the tsunami arrived, came the following year, just by chance, the city was already ready for it. And so for a long time, it was the place where help was distributed along the coast. Actually, myself, just by chance, in 2012, I spent 2 weeks in Tono with an NPO called Tono Makokoronetto. And every morning we would decide which places along the coast we will support.
Wonderful.
So, Ofinato, Kamaishi, and Chicho, etc.
We have a comment from Facebook. Motoyuki Ide says, "Wow, Tohoku," and Motoyuki Ide says again, "Nice place." So that's nice. We have some Tohoku fans. Wonderful.
It's a beautiful place. Also, I think somehow it's been used as a kind of inland colony by the central government for a long time. As you know, Tohoku as well, I mean, especially Izu Wakamatsu, during the Meiji Ishin was against the opening up of the country to the Western world. So they fought a war for 2 years, and civil war. And then they lost the war. So all the castles that were built in the Tohoku area, apart from Sendai, Sendai area, the Date Han, they were against central government, and so they've been left on the side by the central government for a long time, and so they've been used somehow as for kind of inland colony area. I'm sure I'm not supposed to be saying this, but it's true, unfortunately.
A bit of history. No, it's interesting. It's all part of the regional culture of the place, right? I found this nice photo of you with Unite Tono. Is that a brewing company in Tono? I saw this one.
Sorry, I can't see.
Oh, you can't see it. Okay. That's okay.
Some technology. I'm sure it's United Tono. It might be the one for Tono. Is it few people with some foreigners, or?
There was another one in a line. You have quite a few photos with the same. It looks like a local business person, maybe from Tono.
Yes, that's Yotaro-san, Sasaki Yotaro. He's a chef, and he runs his own beautiful auberge in Tono and the Minshuku as well. And he's also a brewer of Doburoku, which is local sake. He's a farmer. He calls himself a natural agricultural farmer. So it's not organic, but natural. So he follows the mood of nature. And I've been working with him for a while. We've done different projects. We did some presentation in Spain and in Italy as well. And we are working on a project at the moment, which is secret, so I cannot tell you. But he's someone who has a fantastic philosophy of trying to bring humans back in harmony with nature. So he cultivates his land and also brews his sake, his toburoku, which is unfiltered sake, only with natural bacteria, so it doesn't use any chemicals. It's someone I really appreciate as a business person, and we've done a few things together, and I hope I can still work with him.
That's great. It's great to have collaborators that you're on the same level with in terms of your goals and how you want to move forward. That makes such a big difference. You also had a project in Izu Wakamatsu in Fukushima.
Yes, I've worked at Izu Wakamatsu with local urushi artisans and designer. Seki-san is one of them, and also a very nice project for with a farmer of Izu Wakamatsu who still has the seeds of kabocha, so pumpkin that was imported from Spain and Portugal back in the 17th century. And so he still has these original seeds that were distributed along the country by Ieyasu at the beginning of the 1600s. And he had this dream of bringing back his seeds to their homeland, which was Spain and Portugal. So in 2013, we did a project, and he came all the way to Spain. We planted his seed in the primary school that my kids attended. And the kids had prepared a presentation. There was a girl actually half Japanese in the class, so they did a presentation in Japanese for him. And they planted these seeds, and the pumpkin that was born after the seeds of this pumpkin were sent to South America through another project that visited the school. So basically the pumpkin went back to its homeland because pumpkins are original from South America. So it was a very beautiful project that we did in 2013.
I think I have his photo here. He's wearing a green jumpsuit and showing the pumpkin, and then
yeah, that was. Mm-hmm.
And then
that
at
was
the
a workshop
school.
Actually we did. Yeah, we did a workshop for Hasekura won. Sorry, the Japanese comes out like a subsidy from the Fukushima government. We got this subsidy to do 4 workshops for social entrepreneurs in Japan. So we did this 4 workshop from in Rikuzen Takata in Izu Wakamatsu to learn about different social business that were done in the countryside. And then we did a big one also in Kyoto with entrepreneurs from Western Japan and Eastern Japan. With the exchange of information and best practices that we did. It was a very nice project. We did in 2015, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a great project. And at the school, maybe in Spain, the kids are all around a central, maybe gardening area where they all learn how to plant some food. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like to see more of that in Japan, where they have their own garden, not just one plant once a year, but actually a garden where they grow food. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, the farmer, which is called Asegawa Junichi, Hasejun has this. He teaches organic farming to primary to high school students, and so we planted the seeds of soramame that we got from Spain into the garden of the primary school kids.
That's wonderful. I love soramame. I just got some from our natural farmer in Hiroshima just a few weeks ago. I love it. It's so delicious, and I'm trying to grow it, but I'm not a very good gardener. I'm doing my best, but no, not working. I'm hoping for tomatoes sometime, but I think I have to give up on the beans. Do you garden? Do you garden yourself? No, it's hard.
My children. My 3 kids were in their school in Spain. They did organic farming since the age of 3. So they are pretty good. And also they like organic farming and biodynamic farming. So they know when to plant according to the moon.
Oh, wow.
So they're good farmers. They will survive to disaster, not me.
Yeah, that's really good. I have a picture here of you cleaning books with a mask on. Is that one of your
Yeah.
volunteer projects?
That wasn't actually a project, but it's a volunteer activity that I did, I think, last year. Actually, as I mentioned before, in 2012, I did 2 weeks of volunteer job in Tohoku, in Tono. And one of them was the cleaning up of books from that were rescued from the disaster from all the cities, the libraries of the cities along the coast. And last year there was to remember San Ichichi, there was this activity. So I went and helped out. I think it was for the flood that affected Tohoku in 2018 for the heavy rains.
It's a
The project
wonderful
was
activity. And I think volunteering also has a lot of potential moving forward. Volunteer tourism, right? Volunteering, going to a rural area, lending a hand, having a deeper experience, being able to meet locals on a more real level because you're helping. And so it's a bit easier to welcome people who do that.
yeah.
I know there's
Yeah.
some problems around the world with volunteer tourism, but I think it has a lot of potential in Japan?
Yeah, I think it is a way of not seeing yourself as a guest who has to be served, but to get into the local community. Of course, it depends on the spirit with which you do it. So if you do it because you really want to get closer to local people, and if you're positive and open-minded and also emotional about it. I mean, if you try to really get the best out of it, instead of thinking, are you a cat?
I have a little visitor. You want to come in and talk about volunteer tourism? No? We
Very good.
adopted some kitties last year, so new, yeah. They want to say something, I think.
Good.
Yeah. But I agree with you 100%. I was talking to Adam Fulford about he's trying to develop rural tourism in different areas as well. And he's talking about there's so much need around the akiya, around the abandoned houses. There's so much weeds, and it would be a great kind of plan to get people in, enjoy the weekend, help out by cutting some of the weeds, have some meals with local people, kind of similar to the kinds of things Tono is trying to develop, right?
Actually, I'm also the co-founder of a project called Knowing Tono, Knowing Hidden Japan. This is also a platform for, on one hand, helping local people rediscover their own roots and their own culture, and on the other, to promote and make these roots and culture known outside Tono. It's a project that I've developed with two local, well, not local people that moved in, two Japanese that moved in with me in 2016 with a project called The Next Commons. And the two members, which are Tomikawa-san and Oikawa-san, worked with me in a project that is related to volunteer tourism. But the idea is that because in Tono there are different monuments that are local heritage. And so there are places that maybe have no specific value at the national level. They cannot become UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but they have a special meaning for the local community. So I don't know, a special stone or a special grave or a special tree, a special house, whatever, where there are some stories around this place, or a special jinja. So they've been designed in maybe 20, 30 years ago as Tono heritage places. And at the time, it was the local community that would actually promote the nomination of this place to local heritage, and they will look after the maintenance of the place. Of course, with the passing of the years, local community, I've seen many people die, and so the local community has become weaker and weaker. and people are still around are 80 years or older. So gradually these places cannot be cleaned up or looked after. And so one of our ideas within Tono was to promote tourism to do the job that the local community cannot do anymore. I hope we can keep on doing this.
Yeah, I
This
hope
project.
so. That sounds like a wonderful project.
Yeah.
I know a few years ago, Hiroshima often has landslides. And a few years ago, we had a bad landslide in a few areas around Hiroshima. And one of them was on Etajima Island. No, Ninoshima Island. And that island was famous after the war for where a lot of POWs were kept, including some Germans. And so when I was volunteering, I noticed all the signs were in Japanese and German. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, really? Not English, Japanese, German. And I asked them about it, and they said, we have had so many German volunteers who are living in Japan, but they feel a connection with
Mm-hmm.
the heritage from people on that island. And I thought, wow, that's so unique in that in itself. Like your insight and your connection there. Does Tono have signs in Italian or Spanish or,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Actually, I was very surprised when I decided to move to Tono. I was surprised to look at when I was looking at the official website of the Tono City Council of Tono, that the website was bilingual in Japanese and Italian. So I was like, why is it? That is so strange, And then I realized that actually Tono is a twin city with sister city with Salerno in Sicily, in southern Italy, and they've been they've had good relations for the last 30 something years. So it was very strange, and also found a sign in Italian on top of a hill in Tono as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. I mean, it's like a modern new culture for different areas, having outside connections that make them unique. And it's all good. If the locals are happy with it that way, that's a new part of their
Yeah.
culture.
Yes, no, they look very happy about
Good,
it.
good. Let's talk a little bit about the trips, the study tours that you did. You took Japanese professionals to Europe and you brought European professionals to Tono, was it? Or, yeah? Do you want to
Yeah,
introduce
yes.
that?
Okay. Hasekura, when it was founded, had this objective of bringing in to Europe. Well, I was based in Spain at the time, so mainly it was Spain, people that were working in sustainability, that were trying to create a different world, a different development without development, developmental process in their own business, in their own towns. To Europe. So I would organize a conference or exhibitions or made them participate in international conferences in Europe to explain what rural Japan, or mainly at the beginning was Tohoku, was doing to create a more sustainable world. So I did this for a few years, and I keep on doing it actually. Not only limited to Tohoku, but to the whole of Japan. I brought in people from Minamata to Hokkaido, basically. And then I collaborate with different institutions. One of them is called GEN. The founder, Yukako Saito, she's based in Italy, but she works with Tohoku mainly. As well, and she collaborates with a project called Terra Migaki Design, which is a project promoted by the Politecnica, the University of Milan, and they work on raw earth, so building and design using mud and raw earth, which is Namatsuchi. So we did the first project, the Terra Migaki Design as a competition in Milan during the Fuori Salone, which is the most important design event in the world, I think. So they did a competition, they did an exhibition, they did conferences, and then the winner of the design competition wins a study tour in Japan. discovering traditional Japan, bioarchitecture, and also organic farming and everything related to the earth. So we did the first project in 2018 with Gen and Yukako Saito in Tono mainly, and then in Yamagata. And then last year we did one in Chubu area. So we did Kanazawa and Karuizawa, also Kyoto, northern Kyoto, Keihoku, and other areas. So it's a group of, last year was a group of about 15 architects, mainly Italian, and also the winner was from Belgium, was a Belgian. We visit different reality related to sustainable architecture and bioarchitecture and rural earth.
Wow.
Very interesting project.
That is really interesting and so wide-ranging. You were moving around a lot. Did you go around by train or?
That time, was mainly train, local train, also small buses. I didn't actually participate last year in the organization part of it, so I only go as a cultural bridge, which means that I try to translate not only the word but the meaning of what they're saying and what's behind the local culture of what they're trying to explain to you, and also do the other way around for the Italians, asking very specific questions because they're all professional.
Yeah.
So I've developed a knowledge
an
on
architect's dictionary is in your brain now. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. It looks like on the European side, taking Japanese to Europe, you visited some smart city design or planning areas. Is that right?
Hasekura works on four topics. One is responsible tourism. So I don't call it sustainable, I call it responsible, which means that we are responsible towards the environment and towards humans as well. Then it's design and art crafts. The other issue is gastronomy and sustainable consumption. And the last one is smart communities and machizukuri, recreation of local communities as well. So for 2 years, I took some architects and innovators that were working, also university professors, etc. They were working on smartification of local communities. So how you can use technology to improve and to innovate, and also to make more sustainable life in the countryside. I took them to the Smart City World Congress, which is done in Barcelona, which is the most important event on smart cities around the globe. And I had with presentations and different activities. I think one was in 2014 and one in 2016, perhaps. I don't remember.
And it looks like the Japanese participants were making presentations in about one of them is on strawberry horticulture industry.
That was it. Yeah. He's Iwasa-san. Iwasa-san is a very famous social entrepreneur. He has is the founder of Migaki Ichigo. This is strawberries that are produced in Imamoto-cho. It's a small village near Sendai. He's done the rebranding of the town, and he has actually joined the knowledge on the farming knowledge of the old farmers that used to work on the field, directly on the field. But after the tsunami, because of the high level of salinity, of salt in the land, strawberry could not be cultivated anymore on the ground. So he transformed this the production method into hydroponic cultivation, and made greenhouses, and brought in young people that had the technological knowledge. So they have computerized all the process of growing strawberries. And he received, he's been actually interviewed by the Financial Times, Forbes, and other big, of course, NHK and other media. He's a fantastic entrepreneur, and he came to do this presentation. I invited him to do a presentation at the Smart City World Congress in 2014, I think it was. And we work together on other stuff. And the reason why I'm in Sicily and I'm moving back to Sicily is because he came to visit me in 2016 before I moved to Tono. He came on holiday to Syracuse. And after having been in Barcelona a few times, he came to Syracuse and he said, "You've been hiding this place to me. You didn't want me to come. This place is so beautiful. So why are you going to Tohoku?" And since I've started thinking, I've started actually looking at my own hometown with completely different eyes. So if I'm moving back to Italy, it's partially thanks to him.
Is that, I have a beautiful green valley picture. Is that what you're talking about? There's,
The Green Valley must be Tono. Because Syracuse is a city.
oh no, this is definitely in Europe, I think. This is on the Europe
must
trip?
be San Sebastian, perhaps, or the Basque Country, perhaps.
Okay, yeah, it's gorgeous. And it's together with the pictures of visiting the cheese factory and things like that. So
okay, so that's actually Sicily, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe in inland area, yes.
And
Sicily, it's a beautiful place too.
They also visited some, it looks like making some kind of alcohol. It doesn't look like beer, maybe port or some kind of wine, maybe. But it's all the barrels are around, and then cheese as well.
Okay, that must be actually Catalonia, the Barcelona area. We visited wine producers with different groups, organic farmers and organic wine producers. Yeah. Sorry, I can't see the pictures.
No, yeah, I'm sorry you can't as well. It looks like it was a great study tour, and everybody on the trip learned a lot, and they also had a chance to do presentations. So it was a very professional level.
That's what I usually do with all my trips. First of all, it's not exactly, it's not tourism. They don't come for tourism, so I adapt the contents of the tour with the needs and the knowledge and the professional background of the participants. So depending on who's participating, I match with local people that are working on similar topics, so that they can actually exchange information, questions, and problems, also issues.
That's great.
And then 90% of the time that people participate in these trips, I create for them an opportunity to present their own projects. So either a conference or a meeting or a workshop, whatever, so that people that come from Japan don't simply come to learn, but also to explain what they're doing. Yeah. That's the specificity of Hasekura.
Yeah, I did a lot of study tours abroad with students who were studying but also doing training. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I love the picture of everybody stood around the garbage cans, the recycling sorting cans, because of course it's very different in Europe. And when I first came to Japan, of course Japan was leaps and bounds ahead of where America was. But I think in terms of Europe might be ahead of Japan in terms of recycling or reusing containers. I think America is edging ahead of Japan now. It's big industry. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, in Italy now, where I'm living at the moment, they do door-to-door collection of garbage, which took a while to implement, but it seems that it starts working. That picture was very fun because I remember these people opening up the garbage, and there was actually a tour for related to smart cities, and we were visiting Sant Cugat, which was this small village outside Barcelona where I lived, and they had a smart city program implemented also with the collection of garbage. With you had chips that would tell you whether the garbage was full or not. So they were opening up the lid and checking the garbage inside. And as for Japan, when I moved to Tono, it took me, I think, at least like 6 months of hard studying. I think I needed a master to understand when I could throw out my garbage. So now at the end, I managed to go through it.
Is it quite strict in Tono? Is it a lot of separation?
Yeah, people actually. Yes, people have actually follow him. So, like the first week that I was supposed to throw out my paper, I had all this paper that I put in a paper bag, and I was told off by my neighbor because I didn't put a ribbon outside it, and you need to actually squeeze all them and put them all flat, and you have to wash them and you have to cut them, and I'm like, I can't do this. Really,
But that's
a long
good.
time.
That means the paper is being recycled. Usually,
Yes.
if you just put it in the paper bag, it's just burnt, right? So yeah, it takes
No,
effort,
no,
but
no.
in the end, it's
I know.
better.
I've been recycling all of my life. The problem was the rules, the very strict rules that you have to do recycling. So I
Yeah,
wasn't used to the ribbon and to the washing out.
yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, I
yeah.
managed to go through it.
It also looks like in 2014 you took a group to the Fab Lab conference.
Yeah. Yes. We participated in the 17th, I think, Fab Lab, or the 10th. I'm not sure.
It looks like 10.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we collaborated with Fab Lab in Barcelona, this congress, and we brought in actually the Seki-san, one of the artisan I was talking about. He did. We did a workshop using a 3D printer to make a traditional, what they call now. I don't remember the name of this kind of small animal made with urushi. And so it was a group with people that work with washi and urushi, different designer. Actually, there was No Sign as well. No Signer is a very famous designer in Japan, Tachikawa-san. And we participated in this event, and all the Japanese, actually the workshop with people coming from all over the world, trying to make this object with a 3D printer. It was a very nice experience, very, very unique. And also we did an exhibition then in Barcelona for 2 months, showing how post-tsunami Tohoku was innovating on traditional art crafts. Was a beautiful experience that too. We had lots of visitors.
That's fantastic. Sounds like a great learning experience. Have the people that took part in that tour or one of those tours, have they gone on to run their own business back in Japan, or do you have any stories
Absolutely.
about that?
Yeah, no, all of them actually. They were business people, and many of them were also startups right after the tsunami. People that had left their previous job, the people that were usually interns that moved to Tohoku to run their own business. From some of them, I've lost contact. Not many, actually. Just a few of them have lost contact, but others have actually gone on with their own projects, have done fantastic things, and some of them also have started collaborations between themselves after meeting and participating in Hasekura. They've started doing things together. So like after a few years, for example, in some meeting or some dinner, I met some of them, and they say, thank you, we've achieved this or that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, sometimes when you're a social entrepreneur, you always doubt that what you're doing is worth the time, the tiredness, the money also that you invest in what you're doing, the passion, the energy. But then you meet people, and after a few years, and they tell you, thanks to you, we've been able to achieve this and that. We got that hint in that trip, and then that's what we've been able to do. And so you think, okay, maybe it's hard. It's actually very hard, but it's worth.
That's great. It makes it all worth it when you hear even one story of someone taking their experience to another level in what they do back in their own country or go abroad and do something. So that's fantastic. Great job. Any stories from the other perspective, like from the European visitors who visited Japan as part of a study tour? And then have you heard stories of how they use that information or experience?
Yeah, well, apart from the TMD, the Terra Migaki Design Award project, I did an internship program for foreign students. So in 2017, we did the pilot project with 2 Italian students from the University of Parma that were doing their masters in gastronomy and local development. And both of them are still in touch with me. One of them actually became they did a specific research on Doburoku, which I explained before is this unfiltered sake that is produced specifically in Tono. So they were with Yotaro-san, they did this internship with him. They did their own dissertation, master dissertation on Doburoku producing and fermentation. And after that, one of them became a sake sommelier in Europe and is still working with Japan. And the girl, she actually taking her degree as well on sake, and she's working with a very famous gastronomy academy in Italy, Francesca and Jacopo. And I think they spent like 2 months, 1 month, a full month in Tono, 1 month in Yamagata. And they still remember these experiences, a fantastic experience for them, also enriching not only from the human point of view, but also as professionals. So they've been using this experience in their professional life. And we plan to do something together in the future too. Francesca also actually helped me and coordinated a group that I took to northern Italy, to Emilia-Romagna area. So she lives near Parma, and so we're still in touch. Yeah, with them.
That's great. Yeah, it's really the work that you've done. Has it been about 10 years that you've been running the organization?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I started right after the tsunami of 2011. The association was founded officially in the beginning of 2013. So I work with Hasekura and now for almost 8 years. Yeah, but I've done so many things and I've met so many people, and so many people participated in this program that it sounds much longer actually.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a really difficult time for you trying to get back to Japan, trying to go forward with projects you must have been working on for ages, and now everything's kind of stopped. I hope that starts moving forward again for you, but is there anything you can work on right now as you're abroad?
Well, I have to say that I am someone who doesn't stop working ever. This is actually a problem because I've got 3 kids as well, and my children have blamed me for working and don't devote much time to them. So well, since I will be moving, or I'm moving, I've already moved, I'm not sure. Since I'm in Sicily, I've decided at least I will not work on Saturday and Sundays and holidays. But for the rest, I need to work. So at the moment, I'm using this time as an opportunity to network in Sicily. I've been away from here for 33 years. So I'm trying to do the right connections, and I'm actually working at the moment with, I've just become a member of the Zero Waste of my hometown. And I'm also collaborating with a group that is called Sustainable Ortigia. Ortigia is the city center of Syracuse, which is World Heritage, UNESCO World Heritage. So I'm working on sustainability as well. And I'm also collaborating with a group that is called Laboratorio Sicilia 2030, so which is an association that tries to implement the SDG goals to Sicily. So we're working also on Erasmus+, sociocracy, sustainable development, organic farming, and the protection of local heritage, different issues. So I'm not on a holiday.
No, I don't imagine you are. You like work. You live for work, right? Not work to live. But you have a passion for your job, and you're doing so much good work and meaningful work. You were doing with Hasekura 2.0, you were doing a lot of training as well. Have you transitioned to online training at all? It's too
I
hard.
mean, the training that I was doing was more on the ground, you know. So
Right.
people would go and visit a farmer, would go and see something, would learn on the ground and on the field was the most important part of it.
Right.
So at the moment, I'm not doing much online training at all. I have actually been asked to do a presentation for a photovoltaic and renewable energy company in Japan that we'll do next week on sustainability in rural Japan. So I have to admit that I'm not a big fan of virtual meetings and virtual conferences.
Is it
Unfortunately, that's
going to
where we
be?
are.
It's probably not going to be live streamed, so you'll be fine. this is this is a new experiment for me to try all the live streaming. But in terms of sustainability, it makes sense because it's
Yeah.
transparent and we can have interaction from the audience and yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So, anything about the future? Any future aims that you'd like to try to do? I mean, you have so much that you're doing. Is there anything that you'd like to try to do in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, somewhere down the road?
10 years is too far away for
Too
me.
far.
And maybe, I mean, in the next few years, I want to settle again here in Sicily. I think there are lots of opportunities. Actually, one other reason why I decided to move back here was also because I did a presentation last year, a conference, well, a lecture for first year students of Tohoku Kogyo Daigaku in Sendai. And at the end of my presentation, what I was explaining about local communities, local networks, sustainability, etc., one of the 300 students that were attending my conference were just said, "You do a great job, but why do you do it here for us and don't you do it in your own country?" And I said, "I think you're right. Somehow it's time for me to come back from where I was born and do something for this land, which is a beautiful land, but needs people maybe like me to bring in new energies, to fight and try to achieve a more sustainable world." So I
Yeah.
hope for the
Well,
next 5 years.
I hope you'll still keep some of your ties to Japan because
Of
you've
course, of course.
created so many deep local ties, especially for that Tono area. It'd be wonderful if you can somehow
Sure.
make bridges and connections still.
Yes. Yeah, I still do trips for Japanese in Sicily, of course, and I want to go ahead with my project with the Reiki groups and other groups. And I have done also like artist in residencies projects with foreign artists. So I want to keep on doing that. Of course, I will not be based in Tono anymore, but my link and my relation with Tohoku, with Tono, and Tono people will stay where it is. Tono people are really fantastic. That's if there is one reason why you want to visit Tono, is not the kappa, is not the landscape, is the local people that are amazing. They are helping me so much. Now my son is stranded in Japan on his own for the last 2 3 months. I don't even remember anymore, and they're treating him like a son. And
Oh,
this is something
that's
that
wonderful.
I
You
will never
know,
forget.
Melanie Brock, when we interviewed her, she said the same thing about Tohoku. And Robin Lewis, when we interviewed
Yeah,
him, he said the same thing about Tohoku. So there is something deeper, not just the landscape is beautiful. It is a beautiful place and it has deep culture, but there's something so personal and so friendly and real about so many of the people there that it's definitely somewhere people in Japan should try to get to
absolutely.
now that tourism might be starting a little bit domestically on the way forward. Yeah, I'm glad you had that experience there. What a great experience in small rural Japan that you can now connect to your experience in rural Italy or rural Spain. How wonderful.
It is. It is.
I'm sure
It is.
you'll make lots of connections back and forth for many years
Yeah.
to come. Yeah.
Yeah, but you realize that basically we are very different under very different aspects. But at the end, there's something that is we have in common, For example, the bureaucracy that I have in Japan is not very different from the bureaucracy that I have in Italy. People at the end in small communities are act and behave in a similar way. So what I've learned in Japan, I will absolutely and definitely use it in Italy too. And my experiences from Spain were used in Japan as well. So it's important to keep these links and connecting people to each other to solve problems that are issues that are common to everyone.
Definitely. That's a great way to end it. Human connection, no matter where you are, is important, especially now during the coronavirus crisis and climate crisis and all the things that we're going through. Thank you so much for giving your time today and giving us your insights on Tohoku and all of your wonderful study tours that you were doing back and forth. So I wish you all the best and keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot.
And let us know if there's anything that we can do to help and keep you connected to Japan.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for joining.
I will follow your other interviews.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you for your comments and questions. We're back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. talking about electric vehicles in Japan and driving Teslas. So please join us. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.